Hello, I'm Jim Andrews, Senior Vice President of IEG, here to share with you an excerpt from our upcoming webinar, Essentials of Sponsorship Measurement. Among those essentials is certainly putting measurement and results in context. And one of the things that we advise sponsorship clients, brand side clients, is to make sure that when you're establishing your measurement plan, that you put it in context and compare those results to a number of different factors. So for example, for each of the different objectives that you're measuring, you want to look at certain things like pre-sponsorship benchmarks. So always very important to kind of know where you started in order to be able to measure how far you've gone. So we want you to have those kinds of whether it's sales benchmarks or awareness benchmarks that we can measure against. Did we move the needle in terms of selling more product during this promotional period than we did in a previous one? What is the kind of benchmark established image for this company? Have we changed that as a result of the sponsorship? So that's what we mean by benchmarks. Certainly, you may have projected goals that you want to reach in terms of very specific increases in each of those objectives, or whatever the case may be. So obviously looking at that and saying, did we meet what we thought we could do with this particular program? One of the things that is a way to keep score, it's certainly not the only thing that you should be measuring, but it does, again, in context, provide you with some interesting learnings, is to look at how other sponsors of the property are performing. And that, obviously, some of that information is going to be proprietary, but in many cases, there will be some information that's shared in terms of awareness levels that you can look and track how you're doing versus the other folks who are also partners at your same level. Certainly, you can compare one sponsorship to another within your portfolio and see which ones are performing better than others. And of course, over time, you want to be tracking how these individual sponsorships are performing and hopefully seeing that with each year, your results are getting better and better. And if they're not, figuring out why that might be. Is it because of particular activations? Is it because the sponsorship itself has lost its freshness, its effectiveness? There could be many reasons. But all of those things added up are going to give you a much better picture and a bigger picture than if you only looked at one of those individually. Now also, in a related part of the measurement plan, you want to be looking at the various stages of a particular sponsorship, and particularly when we're talking about measuring awareness or changes to how people feel about your brand, even tracking certain sales promotions. You want to look over a timeline connected to the sponsorship and to the promotional window. Some of that we obviously want to look at where you are, as we already talked about with benchmarks. But then, again, tracking when the promotional window opens, when you start talking about a sponsorship, which may be, if we're talking about an event-based type of a partnership, months or weeks before the actual event. Certainly looking at what's happening during the peak activity, the peak activation period, the peak promotional period, during the actual event, again, if we're talking about an event. And then, very importantly, seeing if the results that you're getting linger and maintain themselves after a particular sponsorship has ended. So you, of course, are going to hopefully see short-term gains if you are doing something on-site in an event or you have a sales promotion going on. But we also hope that some of those were not just one-time purchases or you affected how somebody felt about your brand just at that moment, but we hope that carries on. So we want to measure after a sponsorship is over to see that we actually did accomplish that. And looking on the property side, the rights holder side, as opposed to the brand side, you also have a role in helping your partners measure. So looking at the different stages of a measurement plan, we can kind of look at each one and say, what is the seller's role, the property's role in each of these? And certainly it begins even before a sponsor has signed on as a partner, in the proposal stage, in the conversation stage, in the sales stage, really starting the conversation and asking those questions. How are you going to measure this partnership if it goes forward? and what kind of standards are we going to be held? What objectives are you wanting us to help you meet? Depending on the sophistication level of your prospective partner, you may be starting a conversation that they have not even had internally. So it is sometimes your role to be the educator about making sure that they do have measurable objectives, because as the property partner, you want your sponsors to have those types of objectives and to make sure that they are measuring, because an unmeasured sponsorship is usually one that does not get renewed. So measurement is the property's friend, as we like to say. And as a sponsorship gets going and as it kind of rolls out, just kind of making sure that you're checking in and doing all of the things to kind of keep measurement up front and foremost in the minds of people on both sides of the fence. Certainly, providing your insights into your consumers as to what types of activation programs may be successful is very important as we start the planning stage for these sponsorships. Managing expectations, making sure that sponsors have a realistic picture of what they can expect to achieve, given what you know about your audience and their propensity to take certain actions, take certain behaviors from your past relationships with other sponsors. And then just, again, making sure that measurement doesn't get dropped off the table by either you or your corporate partner. And just making sure that you're asking the right questions. And again, at the end of the day, the measurement of a sponsorship is up to the sponsor. But you as the property still want to have your hand in there and make sure that those things that you need to deliver that's going to help that sponsor measure, whether it's reporting back on how many tickets were purchased using a discount code because they bought a sponsor's product, making sure that you're including questions for your sponsor in your audience research to judge whether people that are coming to your events or members of your organizations know who the sponsors are and are positively inclined to those sponsors. Making sure that you're doing all of that so that you can produce a report at the end that is going to give all of those data points to your sponsor, and they're going to be able to include that in their complete measurement picture. So to learn more about sponsorship measurement, I invite you to join me for IEG's Essentials of Sponsorship webinar. I look forward to sharing more information with you there.